Boycott 5150 energy drink. CEO says, I am what I am. By Rhonda Moore, now Würzburger, real 5150 advocate and peer, and it was reprinted with permission from her blog, I Am an Addict and Liar, WordPress.com. Check it out there. And this is what she writes. If I were to step on your toes, I would apologize. Make sure you were okay, and then pay closer attention to where I stepped in the future. Carlos Vieira, CEO of 5150 Energy Drink and the founder, president of the Carlos Vieira Foundation, would say, hey, I just walked that way, and expect you to simultaneously discount your pain and bask in his glow. Going into the meeting, I expected a man with the charisma of George Zimmer, founder of the Men's Warehouse and the I Guarantee It fame, the proverbial man who could sell ice to Eskimos. I was not disappointed. But I am getting ahead of myself. We must first learn a bit about the humble sweet potato and what it means to be a poser. The New Oxford American Dictionary defines poser to mean a person who acts in an affected manner in order to impress others. The Online Slang Dictionary says it's a person who pretends to be a member of a group that they are not actually a member of. Carlos relayed his tale of coming to the United States as an infant when his father immigrated to the U.S. from Brazil in search of a better life for his family. His father settled in Livingston, a town in central California, San Joaquin Valley, with a population of less than 10,000. It is there that Carlos grew up for most of his life, working summers and after school on his father's 20-acre sweet potato farm with his brother and sister. The average California acre planted in sweet potatoes yielded 36,000 pounds of produce in 2013, and because the skin on a freshly harvested sweet potato is so delicate, it must be extracted from the soil by hand rather than by mechanical equipment. While Carlos worked on the farm, he and his siblings were only 6 hands among an army of migrant workers scraping a living together by following harvests. His father did not choose this area at random. His uncle already had a thriving sweet potato farm and a packing shed in Livingston. Carlos's father joined the business upon arriving in the U.S. in 1972. 5 years later, Carlos' father bought A.V. Thomas produce from his uncle in what would be about $550,000 in today, or $550,000 in today's dollars. Saving over $100,000 a year is not a reality for a struggling farmer. In 2012, the median household income in Livingston was $43,919. The family arrived with money, and Carlos had hit the familial lottery. At the meeting, Carlos said, in '92, I went to college and decided to go into the family farm. My brother wasn't interested in the company, my sister wasn't interested in the company, and my dad wanted to retire. This contradicts the A.V. Thomas website, on which his father, who is listed as the owner-president, says, today my 2 sons take great responsibility in insisting me run the business. Carlos' brother has the title of Vice President Farming Division, and Carlos is Vice President Packing and Sales Division. The photograph of Carlos on the website is one of the few pictures available where he is not wearing 5150 apparel. Even on the mission page of the Carlos Vieira Foundation website, Carlos is shown speaking to an audience wearing a 5150 shirt. Carlos then told us that he worked very hard meeting with customers all over the country until 2007, and he built the company to the point where it was the largest grower, packer, and shipper in the country. On IndiaCatalog.com, A.V. Thomas Produce is noted as California grower with 1,700 acres in production. The posting date is July 15, 2010. According to the USDA's National Agricultural Statistics Service, California's crop of sweet potatoes was half that of North Carolina's in 2012. In this video at 5 minutes and 23 seconds is an engaging interview with Bobby Ham of Ham Produce Company in North Carolina. The farmer says that he grows 10,000 acres and packs 16,000 acres. This company ships internationally and prides itself on its seedling to market approach. The 2012 sweet potato crop was 2.65 billion pounds. AV Produce produces 100 million pounds according to its website, which is less than 4% of the total crop. Growing up in Livingston may make traveling the country visiting customers seem exotic, and I called him Small Potatoes jokingly at the meeting. The evidence that he actually was Small Potatoes came with the additional research post-meeting. After spending his history in an immigrant achieves American dream slant, he told us that in 2007, at the age of 35, I wanted to do something else that was for me. He told us he'd always had a dream about racing cars. Don Coble wrote in the Florida Times, Union, one of the oldest adages in racing is the easiest way to make a small fortune in the sport is to start with the big one. In Carlos' own words, in a letter he sent to HotRod.com about his race team, at that time I had never even been to a race. But I knew that I wanted to race asphalt and race the type of the car like guys do in NASCAR. His bio in this 2011 letter insists his position the same as AV Produce website, VP, not owner. Carlos needed a number for his car, and since all of his friends were calling him crazy for pursuing his race dream, he chose 51 and added 50. 5150 refers to the California code that empowers a police officer to place a person with a mental illness who is a danger to himself, to others, and or gravely disabled under an involuntary 72-hour psychiatric hold at a behavioral health center. It is also a derogatory slang word that implies mentally less than violent, and the word a psychiatrist would never use, crazy. Valley Children's Hospital in Madera, California approached racing teams asking them to raise and donate funds. Carlos' team raised $3,000. In HotRod.com, his letter states that in 2008, he held a fundraising dinner that $23,000. In our meeting, he said the dinner resulted in $30,000 raised. Reviewing the Carlos Vieira Foundation fundraising activities in 2011, 2012, and 2013, as stated in the IRS 990 Easy filings, similar dinners netted $4,281, $7,677, and $18,548, respectively, after expenses. In the meeting, Carlos told us that he didn't know what to do with the $30,000. My unspoken question was, what type of donors participate in a fundraiser for yet-to-be-named beneficiary? Carlos let us know that he had an employee whose son stopped communicating around the age of 2 or 3, and she was crying in his office, asking him if he knew anyone who could help. He said that a diagnosis of autism was finally made. He then asked her what he should do with the money. She told him that there was an organization, Merced, that served local families but had no resources for helping families who had a child with autism. This grew into a Race for Autism campaign, resulting in donations to various autism-related organizations. In 2009, he formed the Carlos Vieira Foundation. The foundation's IRS 990 Easy filing state. The organization assists those in need by providing funds to local and nationwide nonprofit organizations. A specific focus is on organizations that help the community and promote research towards a cure for autism. Emphasis, mine. Carlos then explained that he wanted to generate more money for the foundation. He thought with racing and their extreme lifestyle and the way they live, an energy drink would be a good fit. Thus, 5150 Energy Drink and the slogan, Live the Madness, was born. It would promote autism awareness, and every time someone buys a can, a portion goes to the foundation. The IRS 990 Easy filing indicated that in 2013, a total of $9,244 was received from all donors. He added that Rockstar and Red Bull are cool, but 5150 gives back. When I pointed out that Rockstar partners with charitable organizations, he replied that his energy drink came after the foundation. It's not like we became rich and now we're giving money. Yet he was rich enough to participate in a sport that requires a phenomenal amount of cash. And he said, I didn't need sponsors. I didn't need the money. I got plenty of money. Enough to race 3 weekends a month as indicated in his hotrod.com letter. To return to the stepping on toes analogy, in Carlos' letter to Eve, initially requesting the meeting, he wrote, I am hopeful that you can learn a little bit more about my company, my history, and our work in the community. You may form a different opinion of our company and our products. At the very least, an opportunity to talk could come up in some... At the very least, an opportunity to talk could clear up some misconceptions that may exist. We gave him ample, uninterrupted time to convey his story. Then, we told him ours. Pardon, had to drink my coffee there. We talked about the Real 5150 campaign. We told him that 1 in 4 suffer from a mental illness. We told him that 1 in 17 suffer from a mental illness. When a person suffers a cardiac emergency, an ambulance is called. For mental health crisis, the police are dispatched. Eve shared her story of the onset of her illness, PTSD, with non-epileptic psychogenic seizures that prevented her from being able to speak, unable to walk, unable to care for herself. That is the Real 5150. I told him how I had been handcuffed and placed in the back of a police car, how I was subdued by a psychiatric tech who squeezed my breast so hard it left bruises, how I was assaulted by another patient at a state-run hospital so that I showed up to my capacity hearing with a black eye. How was I unable to be served? How I was unable to be served a restraining order that a judge had issued on behalf of my mother because my whereabouts were so erratic that the process server was unable to locate me. How my mother died before I healed our relationship that my illness had once again damaged. That is the Real 5150. Oops. Yikes. Alright. We shared other stories of how 5150 hold resulted in the loss of jobs, family support, and social standing to the individuals committed. While we gave him accolades for his charitable acts, not one time in the meeting did he express concern for our suffering, empathy for our experience, or sympathy that one human would normally express to another for being affected with something totally out of their control. After failing to reach him with our stories, we shifted the focus to probe more deeply into his energy drink company, the foundation, and the relationship between the two. And that's going to be part 1.